Hey friends, welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to talk about minimalism mistakes that I've made, but also are pretty common mistakes or common misconceptions and confusions about minimalism, just to clear the air a little bit. Maybe you need this as a gentle reminder, or maybe you believed or thought one of these misconceptions up until recently or now. And yeah, hopefully this video is helpful. So misconception number one is that the minimalist aesthetic and the minimalism mindset or the minimalism lifestyle is the same thing. So it's actually not the same thing. You can be a minimalist lifestyle wise and not have a minimalist aesthetic, but the other way around, you can have a minimalist aesthetic but not pursue the lifestyle. Now, both are totally okay. You can do one or the other. You can also do both, but just to know that it's not the same thing. So they come from a similar or same core. So it's about cutting away the excess, cutting away the frills, the unnecessary things, and paring everything down to the basics. It's back to the roots and only what is necessary. So similar maybe to this bed, you're cutting away all the frills and just having the frame of only what is necessary. But something to be careful of is that you're not pursuing the minimalist aesthetic, even though you are actually wanting to pursue the minimalist mindset or lifestyle. So these are two different things, and don't feel yourself forced into having a minimalist aesthetic, even though that is not your thing. You don't have to have a minimalist aesthetic just because you're a minimalist. You can have color and whatever you like, whatever makes you happy. Now, the next thing is that the misconception of that minimalism is only about the items that you own. I mean, yes, it's a big thing. Decluttering is a big thing, trying to get rid of as much stuff as possible, only keeping things that you need and that bring you true joy and happiness. But it's not only about stuff, it's also a mindset behind it, the mindset of intentionality. So bringing things into your life intentionally. Now, it's not only with stuff, but it's also maybe with people, but also being intentional with how you spend your time, how you live your life, essentially. It's all about that intentionality. And yeah, so when you go deeper into minimalism, you'll find that there's so much more than decluttering and getting rid of stuff. Now, a next mistake I think many of us also make when we start out with minimalism, and that is to organize instead of declutter. Especially in the beginning, when we start decluttering, it can be really overwhelming because there's just so much stuff and you don't know where to start. And maybe there's still a little bit of resistance when it comes to decluttering and getting rid of things. And you start maybe organizing instead of decluttering, and visually it looks like you have less, but actually you haven't really gotten rid of that much. Just something to keep in mind when you're decluttering. Are you really decluttering, or are you just organizing? But at the same time, remember not to put too much pressure on yourself. If you're not ready to part ways with this item, then that's fine. For me, I've really found that minimalism definitely is not like a one-time overnight thing, which can also often be a misconception. It's not an overnight transformation. It really is a journey that takes some time. And in the beginning, it feels really productive to declutter a lot of stuff, but at the same time, there's also a lot of things that I wasn't able to part ways with yet, and that was fine as well. I found that half a year later or a year later, I was more than happy to part ways with that item. So sometimes maybe you're just not ready yet and you're just not in that place yet to be able to part with that thing, but that's okay. Give yourself some time, give yourself some grace. With time, maybe you will be able to part ways with that. And when it comes to decluttering, I find that it's a practice that is very trendy right now to declutter, but decluttering isn't the only thing that defines minimalism. At the same time, just because you're decluttering doesn't mean that you are a minimalist. So I actually see a lot of people, and I do have to check myself as well, that declutter to have an excuse to renew their stuff. So for example, decluttering half of your clothes because you don't enjoy them anymore, but then replacing them with new stuff. So essentially you're not decluttering, you're just kind of renewing your things. And that's fine too if you'd like to do that, but just be careful. If you want to pursue minimalism, just be careful that you're not decluttering to have an excuse to upgrade your things. Now this is something that I struggle with, even though I know that I shouldn't be doing this, but oftentimes with minimalism it can become a little bit of like a competition, like who is the better minimalist or who has less stuff, and it always becomes so focused on the number of items that you own. And I know that, including myself, a lot of minimalists, especially here on YouTube, will say that I only have X amount of things, or I only own X amount of clothes. And I've definitely done this too, but you should be really careful that minimalism is not about having a specific number of clothes, and your worth of being a minimalist is not attached to how little you have. It's not that the less you have, the better of a minimalist you are. That is definitely not the case. Everyone's lifestyle is different and everyone's needs and preferences are different. So I find myself sometimes getting caught up in the numbers and thinking, oh, but I have 8 t-shirts, that's far too much. I'm not a minimalist if I have 8 t-shirts. It doesn't matter how many items you have. And it's when we start comparing ourselves to others where we get into this numbering mindset of, am I good enough if I have this amount of things, or am I less than this other person who has less things? That's totally not what this is about. It's about you and your journey. So if you find yourself comparing yourself to others and counting how many items you have and trying to squeeze it into under 50 things or something like that, just remind yourself that it's not about the numbers. I truly believe that everyone's minimalism looks really different, so you cannot say that this is how a minimalist should look like, because everyone's lifestyle is different, so everyone's minimalism will look different. Now this next thing is also something I've been struggling with recently, and that is to pressure yourself into decluttering things even though you need them. So this is kind of tied to the point I made before about the numbers. So I found myself thinking, okay, I need to have less to be more of a minimalist, and I think it was well intended, but I found myself pressuring myself to have less stuff and then pressuring myself to declutter things that I actually still use or still enjoy, just so I can have less stuff and to look like more of a minimalist to other people, which is so silly now that I say it out loud. But as I said before, be kind and gracious to yourself. If you're not ready to part ways with the item right now, my experience has taught me that that's totally fine. Hold on to it, revisit this maybe in a few months, in a year or so, maybe you're ready then. But be kind to yourself. If you're not ready now, that's totally fine as well. Now something else I also was or am sometimes a little guilty of is trying to, in a sense, push minimalism onto other people or trying to declutter for other people. Now I understand that minimalism is something that is so beneficial, or when you yourself see the benefits of minimalism in your life and you want to kind of share that nice experience or benefit with other people, and you try to convince people maybe to also join minimalism. It sounds so culty, but to also pursue minimalism, or I found myself feeling like, I'd love to just declutter that for that person because I know they're not even going to miss it. Luckily I've never done that, but we do need to learn to respect other people's decisions, respect other people's things and their boundaries, and it's never okay to just get rid of things for other people, because it's their stuff, and we should, as I said, respect their stuff, respect their boundaries. And if they're not ready yet to pursue minimalism, that's fine too. That's their decision to make. But know that sometimes we need to give people the appropriate time that they need. Maybe they're not in a place in their life right now where they're ready for this, but maybe talking to them about it has planted like a little seed, and maybe that seed will come to flourish and they'll be ready for minimalism down the road. Maybe never. That's also okay. We're all in charge of our own lives, and I think a lot of times we get wrapped up in trying to be in charge of other people's lives and change other people, but everyone's in charge of themselves. Just something to keep in mind, not to force things onto people, not just minimalism, anything, any type of lifestyle or just any opinion, to respect other people's opinions, respect other people's decisions, and yeah, just be kind to one another. Something else that is a mistake that is easily made, especially in the beginning, is that we forget to change our lifestyle, but we only declutter our things. So what happens then is that we start decluttering all this stuff, and because we don't change our lifestyle, we keep on shopping and behaving the way we used to behave, and that just means that the things will pile up again. So it's about sitting down with yourself and thinking about the whole mindset of intentionality of minimalism, and maybe you even have to change a few habits that you have. For example, for me, before I kind of pursued minimalism, I was so much more in a consumerist mindset, and I would scroll through maybe Instagram or through shopping apps, and those things were actually habits. It was a habit of mine. If I'm bored, if I'm whatever, I'll scroll through one of those apps, and those apps actually triggered my consumption. So if I'd see something, think, oh, I need this, I want this. So I had to analyze also my surroundings, my lifestyle, my actions. What are things that I'm doing that are triggering purchases that I actually don't want? And for example, I deleted quite a few shopping apps. I deleted this and that, just to try to limit my exposure to ads or to things that I know will trigger me to buy stuff. And I also challenged myself in different ways, for example, to do a no buy or a low buy year, and yeah, just tried out different minimalism methods here and there to see what I liked, what I didn't like, how it challenged me as a person, and just to see how much further I can grow as a minimalist. And now this last minimalist mistake is something that I haven't seen anyone talk about, and that is that we should be careful that minimalism doesn't become part of our identity so much that it kind of strengthens our ego. So I'm not sure if I can put this into the right words, but I definitely need to check myself as well, that it doesn't come from a place of I'm a minimalist and that's why I'm better, and I need to check myself to see that I'm not judging people who are not in a place of minimalism, who are more consumerist, and that is fine. That is their decision. As I said before, you need to respect other people's decision. But I think it's a slippery slope, and it's easy to have minimalism be so much a part of you that you strengthen and feed your ego through that way. I don't even know how to put this into words, but just to check yourself that you're not judging people, and that minimalism is something for you that is beneficial for you, and that you're not pushing this onto other people, talking down to other people that if they're not pursuing minimalism or are not as far into their journey as you. Oh, it's so hard for me to put into words, but maybe you'll know what I mean. That you don't let minimalism make you feel better than other people. And I know it's easy to say, oh, well, no, that's not me. I'm not like on my high horse or anything, but I think a lot of times it's a little subconscious and it's really subtle, and it's really difficult for everyone to separate yourself from your ego. It's what we identify with so often, but it can be really dangerous. So I hope you found this video interesting, and hopefully you could take a few points from this video here and there. Are there mistakes that you didn't realize you were making? Are there mistakes that you have made? I'd love to know. Leave it in the comments down below. I'll chat with you guys. I think this is a great way to exchange ideas with each other and to learn from each other. Thank you so much for watching, for staying with this video for so long. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.